So that's the, you said right before it hit the thumbnail, you go, I don't know what face to make for this, so I guess I'll go with indifferent. Is that your indifferent face?
I guess so. Indifferent, I guess, yeah, just like...
Yeah.
Yep.
So
movie.
We're back here to review Billionaire Boys Club. Sarah and I just got done reviewing Crazy Rich Asians, which clearly means Billionaire Boys Club's only a 5-minute long movie. No, we watched this movie earlier today because this movie might be playing at a theater near you. It does come out this weekend in a limited release, but... it's already been released for video on demand, so if you have that, you can see the movie, or if it happens to, I don't know, again, be playing at a theater near you somewhere, maybe it's playing at the same theater we saw Gotti in.
Probably.
In Peoria. If you don't know what this movie is, this is James Cox's new movie. James Cox made Wonderland, and with Val Kilmer, where he played John Holmes. This is the movie about, as the title suggests, the Billionaire Boys Club, which in the early 1980s was this group of frat boys who made this Ponzi scheme and were making just boatloads off of investors and also their parents, because they all came from wealth. It was basically a collection of all of these young guys who were out of school or in school and came from very, very rich families. So they go into this Ponzi scheme together, led by, in this movie, Ansel Elgort, who plays Joe Hunt, and Taron Egerton plays Dean Carney. I believe those are the names, because I knew enough about this going into it. So what you're watching in this movie is... Now, Sarah and I got out of Crazy Rich Asians, and one of the things we said about that movie was this movie, Crazy Rich Asians, does remind me of other movies. It's just kind of doing a lot of those familiar things better than some of those other movies did, so it was a really likable and charming movie. This movie is the opposite. This movie is a lot of different things that I've seen before in a lot of other movies, but not done nearly as well as any of them. This movie is a poor man's Wolf of Wall Street. Like, it's trying to show this extravagant lifestyle that they're all leading because of this Ponzi scheme, and then, you know, they're into drugs, women, and all this. And it is not a fraction of what, like, something like Wolf of Wall Street brought to the table.
This is like if you mixed Gotti with Wolf of Wall Street and they had a baby. That is what this would be.
It's kind of a linear Gotti, because the movie is linear. It's not just kind of jumping around all over the place. But it's a badly edited film because it's opening up just through narration. It's using narration in just the laziest way possible to just tell you things that it should be showing. Yeah. To just substitute narration with character development or anything.
It needs to do show, don't tell.
Yes, and like half of the time I kept forgetting it was Taron Egerton narrating it, and I kept thinking, wait, is Ansel Elgort narrating this?
Because I said that to you. I was like,
yeah,
why is he the one narrating it? He's not the main character that we're really following.
It's weird that he's narrating it, and the narration is only there to just substitute the fact that this movie doesn't take any time at all to set anybody up in this film.
It doesn't.
It just throws you into the two characters meeting, doing this Ponzi scheme, and Taron Egerton is straight up just doing a DiCaprio impression in this from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, he is. He even looks like him a little bit.
He's straight up just doing that. And you've just seen other movies like this before, done way better, from Wolf of Wall Street to, even if you want to see this time period, a movie that has to do with clubbing, partying, and drugs, Less Than Zero does it way goddamn better than this. There was even a miniseries in 1987 called Billionaire Boys Club that is way goddamn better than this, because it has the benefit of being a mini-series, so you actually get to know everything about what they're doing and what ends up leading to this trial. And in terms of a movie about some dumb guys who, by the third act, murder comes into play, again, Pain and Gain, way smarter and better than this film. To compare it to Gotti.
What I was going to say about Gotti, like, it's depending on whether or not you know the story or not, because it just starts giving, like, bullet points of this story, basically.
Yes, that is how you could compare this movie to Gotti, because like that movie, I wasn't confused when I was watching this movie.
I sure as hell was.
Because I knew how it ended. I've seen the miniseries a long time ago, so I kind of knew all the bullet points it was going to end up making, but you hadn't. So
I don't know anything about this story. I didn't even know it was a murder story. I thought it was just like some sort of money fraud or some sort of Ponzi scheme thing. Or... It's
the movie, just even for me, somebody who knows the story, the movie does just talk over your head. Like, it doesn't have hardly any characters. The side characters, other than in the Billionaire Boys Club, those other guys, they're just there to be there. Like, it's like Gotti's guys in that movie. They're just there to be there. They're totally interchangeable with each other. You don't know any goddamn thing about them, but they're just rapidly just spouting off numbers through the movie.
They're using a foreign language, because I don't know anything about, like, business talk or language or marketing stuff. Like, I really don't. That makes me sound really dumb, but they'll just start saying numbers and, like, trading stuff and, like, you know, just things that are really foreign to me. I don't really know. And then they'll just talk like you should know what they're saying.
They don't make it interesting.
No,
it's not like Oliver Stone's Wall Street or Boiler Room or a movie like that. They don't make it interesting. This movie, looking at them spouting off their numbers and their scheme and what they're doing with the gold farming and everything, it's just like randomly walking into an economics class during the second semester.
Yeah, and that was my least favorite class.
Right, yeah.
Economics.
It doesn't devote time to anything. And even the scheme that they do have, this movie's... Taron Egerton does what he can. Ansel Elgort is really miscast in this.
You thought so?
Yeah, I did. Because whenever he's up there giving a speech to, like, investors, I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying that anyone would be seduced by this
I wasn't
presentation that he's given, especially when you're comparing it to, like, what DiCaprio did in Wolf of Wall Street. I think maybe if the casting was switched and it was Taron Egerton playing the lead.
He wasn't that bad.
No, he was good. I mean, he is, again, he is straight up just impersonating DiCaprio.
He was more charismatic and more, like, selling things than the other guy was. The other guy was just a person. I really didn't know anything about this person except for that he's dating...
Emma Roberts. They just throw that in there so she can just be the girl in the movie that every one of these movies has.
She wants to be an artist.
Yeah, they just throw in that subplot about the girlfriend because, you know, well, I mean, Wall Street had Daryl Hannah, so I guess we should throw Emma Roberts in this movie and not do fucking anything with it.
And what about that one girl that just shows up and he's like, "You're leaving on Christmas?" or something?
Oh, yeah, when Taron Egerton, a girl comes up to Taron Egerton as if I'm supposed to know who she is, and she goes like, "I don't mean to leave on Christmas. I'm sorry I'm leaving." And he's like, "No, stay." And I'm like, "Yeah, you should stay. I'm just now meeting you too. Who the fuck is this?"
She doesn't show up again.
At the end, when it shows nerdy Ansel Elgort from when they were in like high school or some shit, I'm like, that's like doing a flashback towards the end. I'm like, why wasn't this the opening scene? Yeah. Something like this should have been the opening scene in the goddamn movie.
I don't buy them being friends really either.
No!
In the beginning, it shows him like, I don't know their names in real life. I forgot what it was. Not the actor's name, but the character's name. I don't know. I don't care. He comes to sit down, and he's richer than the other main character guy, and he has money, and I guess they knew each other from high school or college. I mean,
yeah,
and he's like, and he sees him across like the restaurant or something, and he's like, oh hey, long time no see. I'll just put all this money into you. Like I just right away I have like
because the movie didn't set anything up before then, other than this narration where they're like, Beverly Hills is the place, and it's like, okay, and plus this movie just ends. It just ends. Like, it doesn't really get into the murder trial at all, or anything like that. Not like, the movie does not get into any of that. Almost like they were going to, but maybe their filming permits to film in a courtroom ran out, so like, oh, well, we gotta wrap this shit up fucking fast.
That ending, was really like, okay. Like, because if you guys, it's not really a spoiler, because it is like,
it's a true
story. I was like, oh, well, I guess, the guy that was narrating the whole time just kind of screwed this guy over within the last 2 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, he was never seen again or something, and it's like, okay, I guess this is over.
It would be like if Pain and Gain ended just 30 seconds after the Swiss bank account scene. I was glad when it ended, because I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, this is a flaw that it just fucking abruptly ends like they pulled the plug on it, but can't say I was really complaining. I was just kind of glad it was over. But to get into this, there is one good thing about this movie. There is the only good thing about this movie is Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's in this film. And that right there will probably determine whether you want to see the movie or not. But Kevin Spacey's in this film. Kevin Spacey plays Joe Levin, who is the guy who was the investor who they were ripping off money from. And then it turns out he's a con man as well. The only time this movie ever comes to life is when he's on screen.
Because when it was playing, and like after like a few scenes with him in it, we were both kind of like...
I looked over and I went, he is the only good part of this movie.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same exact thing.
Whenever Spacey's... And he's in the movie quite a bit. Whenever he's on screen... Because look...
It's entertaining.
I'm here to review the movie. I'm not here to review his personal life. And reviewing the movie and reviewing his performance... He was the only life that this movie had. Like, whenever he showed up on screen as this very, just almost comparable, maybe not quite to his part in Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, but he's a wealthy dude and he's a con artist. He has a really funny scene where he tricks Ansel Elgort into thinking he broke this $1 billion like porcelain egg.
Yeah, he's like, "Do you want to hold it?" And he's like,
"Yeah,
are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he just kind of like, lazily hands it over to him, and then it just breaks on the ground. And he's like, "I'm so sorry."
You know what that was worth? It is priceless. There's 16 of these, and they're all in a museum. Like, and there's a part where he's in a club debating Andy Warhol on Basquiat, like. And also, like, there'll be a part where Ansel Elgort is like, you said you were going to get us these checks, we need this money. And then Kevin Spacey has this aside where he's like, well, first I need to see if these suitcases fit in this trunk. And there's like this little aside where they go to like... Every time he was on screen, I was like, this movie is coming to life in these scenes. But it's only... He is a main supporting character in this, but he does eventually leave this film. And when
30 minutes left.
When he does leave the film, I was like, I just want this movie to be over now. And I thought it was about ready to wrap up. And then we had to pause it, and it was like, there's still 30 minutes of this fucking thing left. I'm like, I don't care anymore.
I checked out in this movie.
Honestly, once Spacey's character was out of the movie... So was I. Like, and I already wasn't enjoying this. I don't think this is a situation where, I mean, look, let's say Kevin Spacey didn't have the controversy that he did. I still think this is a movie that would still only be shown like video on demand, or this movie, regardless of that happening, I don't think this would have been a wide release film.
It was pretty cheap looking. The storytelling wasn't very good. I thought it was pretty cheap.
I mean, they had enough in their budget.
Movie,
I thought it looked. I didn't think it didn't look theatrical necessarily, because it looked on par with something like War Dogs or something like that. I mean, it had enough money in its budget. Like, it's not like there's no names in this movie. Yeah. It's got Ansel Elgort, Taron Egerton, Kevin Spacey, and Emma Roberts. I didn't think it looked as cheap as Gotti.
I thought it kind of did.
Maybe, well, I mean, I thought this was at least better edited than Gotti was.
Yeah, it still had the same issue that Gotti did, where you have to know the story.
Oh, it had
or else
that.
You'll be a little confused.
Yeah, I mean that I put on a storytelling aspect. As far as how the movie was shot and how it looked, looking at that alone, like, I didn't think it necessarily looked like a TV movie.
Maybe that was a little too harsh. Yeah, maybe it still looked cheaper than, like, it looked like Gotti to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see the Gotti comparisons. Like, on a storytelling aspect, absolutely. This does belong in the club of movies we reviewed this year that are sitting at a flat 0% right now.
Yeah, that Dark Crimes.
Gotti, Dark Crimes, and Death of a Nation. Death of a Nation's easily the worst of those four. Other than that, I would rather watch Gotti than this.
Yeah, honestly, just because it has John Travolta, but you liked Gotti more than I did.
I had fun with Gotti.
If you know the story of Gotti, which we've talked about that already, like, you might find it more entertaining. And plus, I love John Travolta, but you're like 10 times more into him than I am, and I love him.
He is one of my favorite actors.
I do love him. He's like, I love his work, and I love him. But yeah, you're more...
Yeah, he is, like, in my, like, top 3 favorate actors.
Oh, God, something is in my eyeball.
This movie's a very sad movie, as you could tell. It really kind of got to her when, Taron or Ansel Elgort didn't make Emma Roberts' art show, and he was very rude in front of her parents.
Oh,
I would rather watch this movie than Dark Crimes.
Dark Crimes is probably the worst one.
Dark Crimes was...
I mean, I didn't see
a bigger struggle to get... Dark Crimes was a bigger struggle to get through than this. This, every now and then, Kevin Spacey would show up, and then the movie would get pretty entertaining.
Well, we were talking about this when we were watching doing the Gotti thing review. I said Dark Crimes was... I thought it was more interesting to watch because it was against type for Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And, I could see John Travolta...
Playing John Gotti.
Yeah, so for me it was just more interesting to watch Dark Crimes, but... harder to follow. Oh, God.
You alright, baby? Yeah, you want to go inside?
No, there was just something in my eye and, like, allergies and... Yeah. I'm like, all gross.
You're not gross. You could have a bunch of mucus coming out of your nose right now. You wouldn't look gross.
What can be gross about it?
Yes, I do. That's kind of my thing, is grossing you out.
Oh, I can't... I have to stop saying "you" so much. I just
but it's adorable.
I say that a lot.
I was intentionally grossing you out a lot in the fair video.
You do that all the time,
just to get you to... It makes me laugh. It's adorable.
You do that all the time.
I do.
One time you were at the grocery store and you found a chip, and
or
you had a chip from there
were samples. There were samples of chips in the aisle,
and he was holding it in his hand the whole time.
I had it in the cup of my hand,
and then you made it look like you just found it on a shelf, and you were like, "Ooh," and just.
Ooh!
I was like, ew! Why would you ever do that? And then
I was just sitting there.
See, he does things like that all the time to me.
I'm a riot.
He tries to gross me out all the time.
I'm charming.
Just like on our first date when you sneezed in my face.
Did I really?
No.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
It sounds like something I do.
On purpose. Why would I ever go on a second date with you if you just... Don't even try to cover your mouth. You just sneeze in my face.
But it sneezes a heart over your face in mucus. That took a lot of practice.
It's one of your party tricks.
To wrap up Billionaire Boys Club, I don't recommend this. I mean, the Kevin Spacey scenes in it, like, those worked. Those were fine. But beyond that, there's really nothing to recommend about this, because there's just you could watch Wolf of Wall Street, Less Than Zero, American Psycho, which does satirically what this movie tries to do seriously, which is in that how many of these characters look the same.
If you're curious to watch a Kevin Spacey movie, I mean, sure.
I mean, yeah, if that's the case, just pull it up on Netflix or something like that and just fast forward to his stuff. But other than that, there's nothing to recommend about this movie. It was just really forgettable and not good. Like, not
I checked out in that movie.
Yeah, alright guys. So, coming up this weekend is Mile 22 and Alpha. That's finally coming out.
Oh,
so
what's Mile 22?
The Mark Wahlberg one.
Oh.
So, alright guys. Take care. Thanks for watching. Check out the Brad Tries the State Fair episode. That got posted up earlier today.
Watch him gross me out.
Take care, guys.